I'm Carol Kaufman, and I am an organizer. I've been organizing all my life. I went to the University of Michigan undergrad and graduate and was in special education. I worked with emotionally disturbed and learning disabled adolescents. And from there, I moved back east to New Jersey and totally changed careers. I got into the hedge fund industry. And believe me, all my background for working with emotionally disturbed and learning disabled adolescents paid off. So I have been doing a number of things, but they always come back to organizing. The biggest reason that I got into what I'm doing now is that I received a phone call in the middle of the night that my parents had been in a car accident. And my mom had been instantly killed, and my dad, who was a well-known executive and philanthropist, lost all of his executive level skills. So for the next 14 years, I was his primary care coordinator. And when he passed away, I went on a scavenger hunt, trying to find everything, because the result of his accident was that he didn't remember things. And part of the reason that I stress everybody getting a home inventory and getting all of their important information together is not just about the climate changing, but it's about all of the other things that are going on as well. So I started a company in 2008 and created a product that would pull everything together so no one would have to go through what I went through. And 2 years ago, we embarked upon making that available on the internet. And one of the things that we did is the first product we brought over was creating a home inventory. And I go around speaking to groups like yours all over the country to tell them how important it is to pull everything together and the reasons it's so important. I also teach you step by step how to create your own home inventory. You don't have to buy anything. If you have a cell phone, it's perfect because every cell phone has a camera in it. So all of the skills that I'm going to teach you today are, I think,
great.
Everybody should mute themselves unless they want to say something so we don't get the background noise. So anyway, with your phone camera, it's really a great way to spend time while you're at home, since everybody has to be at home. It's even more important to put that time to use. So I'm going to show you my presentation. I am open to any questions that you have along the way, and feel free to unmute yourselves and just ask away. So I am going to share my screen, and I am going to start the slideshow. Why we need a home inventory and how to create one. So the first thing you want to do is answer the question, what's a home inventory? It's a catalog of your home's contents and physical items for each location in which they reside. A family can have more than one home inventory. I have a country home and a primary residence. Somebody may have things in a storage area. So examples could be the primary residence, the country home, a boat, a yacht, a warehouse, a moving van, because you might be moving things from one location to another and you want to keep track of what went onto that moving van, and even something as simple as a safe deposit box. A home inventory catalog includes photos of each room and closet and drawers and financial or sentimental items. And for the financial or sentimental items, it includes supporting information such as receipts and valuations. Why is a home inventory important? Well, it's obviously to prepare for moments like these. And I know one of you especially was to prepare for this moment. And this moment happens to be very personal to one of the people in attendance today. And that's Ellen Kempner's living room from Hurricane Katrina. So it's very important to be able to show what it used to look like so that people will understand for many, many reasons. You have to be able to prove what you had at the time of a disaster. Insurance is one key reason a home inventory is so important. And the first question you want to ask yourself is, do you know what type of coverage you have and how much it covers? Is everyone familiar with replacement cost coverage versus actual cash value coverage? It's important that you know the differences. You also want to know what your coverage limits are, because certain policies allow you $1,500 per item. Others allow you $2,000 or $2,500. And depending upon what you have, you may have to schedule your personal property. If you have a china collection that's worth $5,000 or $6,000, it's not going to be covered in your coverage limit. So you might consider scheduling those personal items. They could be referred to as a rider or a floater or an endorsement. It's really important to know that insurance claims will only cover what you can prove you owned. Knowing the value of your assessments determines the amount of insurance you need. And after a disaster, knowing the amount of your loss will significantly determine not only the amount of financial assistance you receive from the government, but if you qualify for disaster relief or tax breaks, because you have to substantiate your financial loss. Well, what better a way to do so than with a home inventory? Another reason for a home inventory is that living longer creates the silver tsunami effect. Did you know that every day, over 10,000 people a day turn 65? And that by 2050, 20% of our population will be over 65. Along with growing older and living longer, it means forgetting more. People living longer tend to accumulate more things. And even if they want to tell their family where things were, like my dad, their memories tend to fade, either naturally or because of some kind of an accident. A home inventory is important so no assets fall through those cracks. Have any of you heard the story about the rabbi in Connecticut? He went on to Craigslist and he bought a secondhand desk, and he and his wife brought it home. And when they tried to fit it in the door, they couldn't. So they started disassembling it. And the wife went into the drawer and found a paper bag. And when she pulled out the paper bag, she opened it and found $98,000 worth of cash in the paper bag. Well, they called the woman, and there's a big write-up. If you Google it, you'll see it, and you can read the article. They called the woman and asked her if she had accidentally left anything in the desk, and she thought about it and she said, I don't know. Rabbi's wife said, well, I found a bag that had a little money in it. She went, oh my God, I totally forgot. My mother didn't trust banks, and she always would keep money in a paper bag. And she gave me the paper bag, and I was in a hurry, so I put it in the desk, and I totally forgot about it. Just one way you can forget about things. There are lots of other ways as well, and it's called escheatment. How many of you have heard of the word escheatment? If you forget that you have money sitting in a bank account and the money sits there for more than 5 years, the state government will escheat or confiscate the money. It's still yours. Have you ever looked in the paper and seen those articles asking people if they have any money that they've forgotten about, and listing all of the people and all of the money that they are holding money for who they can't find?
That just happened to me. Yeah, that just happened to me. So my parents are deceased, but my husband loves to look at the unclaimed property listings in New Jersey and in Louisiana. And in fact, there was $3,000 in some sort of bank payment that had been issued to my mom that was just sitting there. So I'm waiting now for the check any day.
Yep.
$3,000 surprise.
And every one of you can go on to missingmoney.com or unclaimedproperty.org or any of these other places that I list, and you can put your name in and the state you live in, and you can see if you have any missing money. And whenever I give a talk, somebody goes on their computer or on their iPad or on their phone, and in the middle of the talk, they say, I found some. And I get emails thanking me for telling them about it. Now, it's important for you to know, it doesn't cost a penny for you to claim your unclaimed property. Depending on the state that you live in, you might get interest on it, because this is a national directive. There's the National Association of Unclaimed Property Authority, NAPA, and they oversee all of these states. The states are required to try to find you. Now, just looking once doesn't do it, because it's a rolling every 5 years. You may have forgotten a bank account from 4 years ago. So guess what? In a year, it's going to become unclaimed property. And I always go every year. I look for me, my son, my parents, and my son had forgotten to cash some dividend checks when he was younger, and he got a little over $100. He was so excited. He was in college at the time. And I get people all the time emailing me and letting me know how much money they have recovered. So some of the sources of unclaimed property are the ones that I list here, and they are able to be reclaimed. And if you want, you can always email me. It's ckaufman@pinventory.com. And I'm happy to send you the list, or Rachel can print out the list and the name of the places where you can go look for pensions owed to retirees or retirement benefits, treasury bonds. But this is also a result of not knowing where everything is and what everything is. What you'll need in order to claim. Ellen, what did you have to give them?
Well, I had to do it for New Jersey and for Louisiana, for my dad and for my mom. So each state has different requirements, but the thing in common was I had to provide a copy of the death certificate. I had to provide, since I was the executor, I had to provide a current copy of the letters of testamentary. And then I had to do a copy of my driver's license and social security numbers and things like that. So I had everything in my file except one thing that I had to get updated. But it was a handful of, uh, of, of things that I had to pull together.
Okay. Well, for anyone who's doing it for themselves, you have to prove that you lived where you lived at the time of the escheatment.
Mhm.
And the best way to do that is with the front page of your tax return or a copy of a utility bill. So what you want to start doing now and go back as far as you can, keep the front page of your tax return every single year. Because 20 years from now, if somebody finds unclaimed property and they need to prove where they lived at the time of the escheatment, all they have to do is show the front page of their tax return, and that shows your address each year. Same thing, you could use a utility bill. Why else is a home inventory important? Because it helps your trusted advisor know how best to plan for you. Maybe you are considering putting things in a trust. Well, if you have a ring or something very valuable, they may want to know that, so that if you have it in a home inventory, your advisor can look through that home inventory and determine what in fact might be best served by you to have it in a trust.
I have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So let's say you have a piece of jewelry that has a high value. Sort of what should that number be before you consider putting it in a trust?
That's a question for your estate attorney and your
Okay.
estate planner.
Okay.
So those would be good questions to ask. I think a lot of it will depend on other circumstances that you've got.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, it's not a one-off.
Okay.
The other thing it not only helps your trusted advisor know how best to plan for you, but it helps you with understanding how much insurance you need. So there are lots of reasons to have all of this information together. So now that we know the reasons behind why it's so important to do it, let's get into how to create one. First of all, people ask me, can I just take a video? And the answer is, of course you can. A video is better than nothing. But a video makes it much more difficult for you to properly organize the information. If you're taking a video of an important piece, you want to put with that piece the supporting information, the receipt, the valuation, things like that. So while a video is great for certain things, taking photos is really the best way to get your home inventory together. It's also more difficult if you take a video to play it back, and you certainly can't update it as easily. In order to create a home inventory, you have to create a plan, take your photos, add supporting documentation, and then create the catalog. And we're going to go through that. So the first thing you want to do is get to know your home, inside and out. Go through every room. Go open every closet, every drawer. Sound familiar, Ellen? She did
Yep.
this mentally on a plane after Katrina, trying to remember what was in every closet, what was in every drawer, what was in every room. You get the chance to do this now. Go into your basement. Go see if there's a secret hiding place. Go look at everything. And make a list of the rooms and areas and items that you want to inventory. I have a list that I give out for free on my web. I can get you the list for free and send it to you. It's in our help on our website if you use Pinventory. The next thing you want to do is create a photo naming convention. Think about it. You're going to take about 150 photos, believe it or not, 150 photos, because what you're going to do is you're going to take a photo of every wall, every ceiling, every floor, every stairway, every hallway, every closet, every, everywhere that you feel there's something of value. People ask me all the time, why should I take a picture of the ceiling? Why should I take a picture of the floor? Because you want to show the condition of those items. You want to be able to pick out the chandelier. You want to show that you may have had vents up in the ceiling. You want to show that you had a rug or a wood floor, and you want to show the condition of those things. So now you've got all of these photos, you better have a way to name them, because your camera is going to name them IMG something. And you want to be able to put them all together in your home inventory in a proper order. So when I take photos, I use 3 components. I use the residence, and I only use the number. I don't use the name. I don't use the street. So I live at 15 Nelke Court, so I would use 15. Then I use the location, the living room, the dining room, the den, the family room, the kitchen, the master bedroom, and I abbreviate them. And that's what is on that list that I mentioned. In that list, I show you my abbreviations, and you can use yours. You can create your own if you don't like mine. But now you've got the number and the room, because I have 15 LR for 15 Nelke Court living room, but I've also got 143 LR, which is 143 Kibbe Road, East Otis, Massachusetts, which is where my country home is. So I can differentiate all of the pictures from 15 Nelke and all of the pictures from 143 Kibbe. The last thing I do is the item. Now, if I'm just taking pictures of a room, I'm going to take at least 7 photos. Each of the walls, which is 4, the floor, which is 5, the ceiling, which is 6, and a panoramic view, which is 7. So I will name those 15 LR 1.7, 2.7, 3.7, 4.7, 5.7, 6.7, and 7.7. And if I do more, I'll do 8.7, 9, and then I'll change the name when I've finished. But that way I'm lumping them all together. And when they get listed out, they come in the right order. Anybody have any questions on that naming convention? You can use these naming conventions for anything. The next thing you do is create a document naming convention, because if you have a ring, you might have a receipt for it and you have to name the document. And you don't want to go looking and having to open up every single document in order to find the one you're looking for. You want to get it from the name of the document. So for documents, my first section is the owner, CRK, that's me. The second section is the item. What is it? It's just an appraisal, jewelry appraisal. And the third section, I try to figure a date for the document. If it's a document that's a picture of my driver's license, then I'll put the expiration date. If it's a document that is an insurance policy, I'll put the expiration date. If it's a birth certificate, I'll put the birth date. So you can, and if it's a valuation, I'll put the valuation date. So when I string those three together, I then get the inventory ID, the document ID. In this case, it was my mom, MSR, appraisal, and it wasn't 2019, it was really 1994, but this is the appraisal of certain items. So now you've got a way to name things. So you go around your home and you do 3 layers is what I call it. It's like peeling back the onion. I do 3 layers of photos. I take the 7 basic photos and I name them 1 through 7. Then I open the closets and drawers to get a good idea of the contents in each, and I take a photo. And then finally, I take specific items of financial or sentimental value to me. So this is an example of 3 photos that I took for my China collection and the supporting documentation for it. When I bought it, and I just put these numbers in, the cost was $3,500. I describe what it is. And then the value of it now, based on the appraisal that I will attach to it, is $62.95. So you can see how all of a sudden, Ellen, if you had had this, how much easier would your life have been?
About 1,000,000 times easier. Yeah. So Carol,
Yeah.
In your product inventory, are we prompted for this information?
Yes. It's
Yeah,
all there.
that's
It's
yeah,
all there.
that's kind of, yeah, because it could seem a little overwhelming to think
Yes.
about capturing all of this, and certainly, you know, I'm not going to have a receipt for everything.
But the good news
But
is,
as long as it's prompted,
yeah, but even without Pinventory, if you take the photos of the
yeah,
different items, at least you have something.
sure, yeah,
And that's so important. So
yeah,
here's the supporting documentation for the asset items. And we list out, you know, these are the kinds of information that we would love for you to be able to input. But you first take the photos and get them all done. Then you go back and you add your supporting information. You do it in waves. As you're going along, some people like to create a file cabinet for their information. They might put their photos on a flash drive, but you're pulling all of this information and organizing it so that what you'll be able to do is get a binder, a physical binder, and I give you the approximate prices of what binders are. You can even recycle a binder that you've got or one that your kids have. Get some index tabs because you want an index tab for each room that you inventory. Get page protectors because you might have some items that you want to put into the binder that are physical that you want to protect. So you might want the zipper binder, or you might want just clear plastic ones. You may have manuals that you want to put in there for a very expensive TV. And then finally, you assemble it. And you can see, I put a picture of a home. I put a table of contents. And you can see the table of contents and photos of each item, each room. You can have a physical catalog, and these days you can actually create a digital catalog. There is a plethora of home inventory programs. Some of them work on the cloud. Some of them work on a PC only. Some of them work on your computer, either one, Mac or PC. Some of them only work on a phone. You need to think about what is most important to you. You want to think about the safety component. If you go with a program on your phone and you put all of your important information on that phone, the value of everything, where it is, your address, phones are not necessarily the most secure. And you could be waving a red flag at a bull whose name is Mr. Identity Thief. And they could case your joint without even leaving theirs. So you want to make sure that whatever you get is safe and secure, and that the company has really thought it through. Another thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you can print out a catalog. It's wonderful to have a collection on your phone, but if you can't do anything with it, then it's only on your phone. And yes, you've got a backup, and it's better than having nothing. But you do want the ability to go in to attach documents, attach supporting information, and you want, a lot of times these days, we're finding people who are collectors. They collect baseball cards or vinyl records or teacups or anything, and they want to be able to create their own custom fields. Do you have the ability to do that with whatever program you're using? Finally, one of the most frustrating things is if you have a program that's either on the web or on your computer, and you've taken photos, how do you get them to the program? Do you get them by taking your phone and connecting it to your computer and exporting all the photos and then importing all of them one at a time or in batch to the program? Is there some way to seamlessly get that taken care of? These are all things to consider when you're looking at home inventory programs. The other thing that's really important is be sure to keep your information current. You're constantly downsizing, getting new things. You want to make sure that your home inventory represents what you have today. One other really important thing to think about is creating a home inventory can be a family affair. If you have children, if you have grandchildren, think of the skills. I don't care the age. If you've got a 5-year-old Let them help you take photos. Let them push a button. Let them hand you something. As they get older, they've all got cell phones. Give them each a room. Think about the middle school student who's studying math. Let them get on and look for valuations of some of your valuable things. Let a student talk to you and ask you, how did you get this, Grandma? Why did you get this picture? Where did you get it from and what does it mean? Why did you like it? You have the chance to talk with your children and grandchildren and give them the stories behind some of the things that you've acquired during your life. And a great way to do this is to let each of them decide one thing in your home that they love. Let them take a photo of it. Let them research it on the internet. Let them get a valuation for it. Let them ask you why you got it and build a story around it. And then you can put all of this together. So it really can be a family affair. And with everybody having to stay home right now, it's a wonderful project. You could even start it next week at Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
The reason you want a home inventory is to help leave a legacy for your children and your grandchildren as they're working with you, working on the things that you've gotten that were so important to you. They may not be worth anything financially, but sentimentally, you're passing that knowledge on to your children and your grandchildren. A home inventory becomes a seamless way to transition your assets from one generation to another. It reduces the stress and the frustration and the friction after someone's passed away. If you could send that home inventory around to your daughter in California and your son in Canada and your other daughter in Florida and say, look, these are all the things we've got. Take a few minutes and look at them and tell us, equally importantly, what you want and what you don't want. Not saying you're going to get it, but I'd love to have a good idea of what things you want versus your sister and your brother so that there's less fighting. Why a home inventory? To protect the ones you love. Bottom line. Anybody have any questions? No. This is
I do.
either really good or really bad.
I have a question.
Okay.
You know, where I think I get a little hung up is those things that are valuable to me that I've had for many, many years that I really don't even know. I certainly don't have invoices, or I've never kept that over the many years that I've had the items I'm speaking of. Is there a way of investigating the value of items that would help in collecting the data for the inventory itself that is reliable?
Absolutely. It's a wonderful question. There are qualified appraisers that appraise certain items, but I'm not suggesting that. I have a friend who lives in Bernardsville, New Jersey. She's a qualified appraiser. However, she and her husband and their daughter all do this. They do estate sales. They will come to your home for $500 and they will go, and they did it for me when I downsized from Ridgewood to where I live now. I had a 7-bedroom, 5.5-bathroom house because I took care of my father and the support staff. And I moved from there to a 2-bedroom, 2.5-bathroom townhouse. And I had all of this stuff. And I thought, I don't have a clue. I don't know what to do. So Lynn came with her husband, Drew, to my house, qualified appraisers. And they're known throughout New Jersey. And for $500, they went through every room of my house. And things that I thought were so valuable, they said, you can get rid of that. It's not worth anything. And things that I thought were the ugliest things in the world, Drew said, you hold on to that because that's classic. That's going to be worth something. It so helped me decide what I wanted to keep and what I wanted to get rid of. So my suggestion to you, I'm sure that Lynn and Drew know people all over the country. I'm happy to talk to them to find out if there's somebody down by you who could come in, maybe not even for $500, and walk through and go through everything with you, spend an hour or two, and just help you understand what is valuable and what isn't. And I will tell you, Drew told me the story that they had done this for somebody and they were about to leave. And he said, by the way, what's in that? And they hadn't found anything. What's in that back room? Oh, it's nothing. My husband used to have these old coins. That's where it was. The most, like a lot of money's worth of old coins. So
in the case that you're speaking of, where your friend came in with her husband, are they able to evaluate them for their true, well, the true value, but their value? In other words,
of course,
crossing it over into
qualified, yes, they're qualified appraisers.
Mm-hmm.
So they won't tell you, they won't give you a written appraisal if they're coming through your house to do that.
Yeah.
But if they see something and they say that is worth something, you can say to them, can you do a valuation on that for us? And yes, they will. They charge totally differently for that.
Okay. Thank you.
And of course, here in New Orleans, we have, many mansions and we sell many antiques and have many estate sales. There are plenty of people in the city, I'm sure, who can do that and who are highly qualified. You could call some of the antique shops and antique auction houses here, and I'm sure they could recommend people.
You just have to make sure that they are not specialists in one genre or one era, that they really understand the full set of dynamics, including collectibles, antiques, everything. Very important.
Yeah, Ellen recommended the occasional wife might be able to do it. They're a company that does a lot of it, helps clear out houses and do a lot of estate sales. I don't know if they're licensed or qualified, but they do help with a lot of estate sales here.
Well, when you're looking through general things, you want a real qualified person,
right? Because
you don't want them to miss something. I hope that answered your question.
Oh, you're muted.
Yes, it did. Thank you very much.
Okay. There are very definitely differences between people who do home inventories, people who run estate sales, and people who are qualified appraisers.
Mm-hmm.
And you really want the qualified appraiser when you're looking at a specific piece and when you're trying to determine if you should keep something or not. If you ever, Ellen, I think she did that for you, didn't she?
She did one piece for me, yes.
And she doesn't charge anything.
No, I sent her a photo. It was a piece of art that my parents had that I suspected had some value, but I had no earthly idea. So I sent her a photo, and she was able to give me a sense of the range that it would fall in terms of value.
And she doesn't charge for that.
No, it was great, and it was really helpful because I didn't know if it was worth $250 or $25,000. So it was worth about $2,500. So that was good to know.
And I have to say, I love the idea of doing this and bringing your children in to have them say what pieces they really love, not guaranteeing that they get that, but to get a sense of what your kids really like in your house, what's special to them, what has meaningful memories to them, because the last thing you want is for your children to fight over your property after you go. It's a horrible thing when parents die and then the children have to start to pick through their stuff and choose who gets what. You know, something is very valuable and something is less valuable, and you want to avoid having any kind of conflict with your children as you pass. And this is a wonderful way to do that, to just designate it and know what's meaningful, know what the values are, to try and make it equal, so there's less opportunity for sibling rivalry when emotions are so frayed when parents go. And it's such an emotional time and exhausting. There's so much to do. It just helps with one less thing that the kids have to deal with emotionally.
There's a well-known estate planner, Marty Schenkman. He's in Fort Lee, New Jersey. He's renowned throughout the country. And I did an interview with Marty on home inventories. And Marty said that some of the biggest fights he has ever seen were nothing to do with valuable pieces of art. They were over something that was sentimental, that all the kids fought over, that could have been decided ahead of time. Just something to think about. Anybody, any other questions?
I could just give a little testimonial that I was fortunate to be able to have a trial access to Pinventory and started to use it. It's extremely easy to use. It's very intuitive. It was not intimidating to me. Yes, it's an investment of your time, but it's well worth it, especially since we live in a area we are so prone to weather disasters that, you know, Katrina was sort of the mamma jamma of them all, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be another one next year. Think about how many hurricanes were supposed to be coming directly to New Orleans just this season. So I just wanted to let everybody know that not only is it valuable to me, but it's very easy to use, and you can do it in bits and pieces. So don't think that you have to do it all at one time. What I'm doing is just sort of dedicating myself to like 2 rooms a week and then doing it in bite-sized chunks. I started with the things that I knew had the highest value and did those as individual one-offs. And now I'm going back to do the whole room perspective and the cabinets and the drawers and the closet.
And I have to say that, you know, like my parents have collected antiques their whole married life, which is over 60 years now. They have some amazing pieces. They also have a lot of pieces that were my great-grandparents' pieces. But I don't necessarily know, I don't remember all the stories behind all the pieces.
That's
so
what you
doing
want.
an inventory like this, Mom, my mother is right there, Sandra Lee, to write it down and say what the piece is, what, you know, where.
You don't even have to
they
write.
have pieces that came from like an estate that my grandparents bought that belonged to Goldman, you know, the Goldman Sachs family. And they have pieces that were my great-great-grandparents. things like that, to write it down so that the kids know what it is so valuable, because it's hard to remember when, over the years you've heard a story about a piece, but I don't, life gets so busy and complicated, you don't necessarily remember it. But to take this time while you have the time at home to write down the information on important pieces that you have, whether it's jewelry or furniture or a tchotchke, whatever, is just invaluable.
You could even dictate it. I mean, in Pinventory, for a photo, you use your cell phone and you put in the name of the item that you want to call it. And there's a little area in the bottom. And if you hit microphone, you can just talk into it and you can explain anything you want about that piece. And then when you hit save, it automatically takes the photo and the information and puts it in the program online. So it makes it even easier. You can do it without it. You can do it by writing it down. Absolutely. But I think, for really important things, you want to make sure that it gets done as easily as possible. One thing that's good for you all to know, or bad for you all to know, is that you are in a designated dangerous area. And for anyone who is in that area, we offer Pinventory for 2 months free. So you can try it out. You can just go to the website and click on, if you know someone in one of those areas, you're in those areas, and we'll send you a coupon, excuse me, for 2 months. And you can try it, see if you like it. It's $6.95 a month. That's it. You can do your whole inventory. If you can get it all done and you don't want to use the program, print it all out and close the account.
And like Ellen said, you can break it down. You can do it over time.
Yep.
Just every week, just try and do one room a week or one room a month, even if, if you need to spread it out that much. But
I did my 2-bedroom townhouse, just taking the photos, and I didn't take all of them at once. I did it in about 10 hours. But I still have more to do, but I've done it in waves, but I have most of it in a home inventory catalog. And I did the catalog because of the way our product prints out reports. You can print them to PDF, and then you can literally put them into one of those online magazines that you can create, and you can make your own home inventory catalog. Any of the kids will know how to do it. So thank you, Ellen. Really, I appreciate that.
Sure.
So if anyone has any questions about what I've talked about, my door is always open. My Zoom is always open. My chat, my email. I'm happy to answer. I do not push our product. Don't have to worry. I just want everybody to be safe, and I want your belongings to be safe. All right.
Thank you so much, Carol, and thank you, Ellen, for bringing Carol to our attention and introducing me. I think that this was such a wonderful program. I hope that many people view it on our website, because this is something that everyone should hear about.
I hope
Terrific.
so. That's great. That's wonderful. I just want to also tell you, I teach a course. So if you know anyone who is jobless or is looking for a job, I teach a course, how to create a home inventory for other people. And I have it's called Home Inventory Academy. And I charge 50% of the normal cost, and they can pay it over time, because I'm very concerned about people not being able to work. And there are a lot of people who want to do a home inventory, but either don't have the time, don't feel they don't have knowledge, don't have the patience, and they just want to get someone to do it. And if there were someone in your area who learned how to do this, that would be a wonderful resource for your area. It could be a college student who doesn't have any job. You know, someone graduated and they can't get work. It's a perfect thing for them to do. What is your mother doing?
She's cooking. You've got your mute on, Mom, but hey, she's multitasking.
That's fine.
Your mute is on, Mom. We can't hear you.
Can you unmute her?
I don't think I can. I can only ask to unmute. We can't hear you, Mom.
Okay, I unmuted.
There
Can
you
you hear
go.
me?
Yes.
Thank you very much, because I am going to get started on this very quickly.
As soon as
Excellent.
she finishes making whatever she's cooking.
I'm having some friends for dinner. Finally, two people, my good friends who are also self-quarantined. So I do have to start preparing dinner. Excuse me.
She's on the East Coast, so it's a little later there.
Bye. How do I get out of it? Now I don't know how. I'll just leave.
I'm going to jump off too. Thanks,
Okay.
Carol. This has been great.
You're very welcome, and thank you for the intro, Ellen. Really
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
appreciate.
Bye, everybody. Have a
Bye.
healthy, safe, and happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.